In round 6, a thunderous Tuolangi tackle. Debuts to remember, and Leggings are in. All this and a little bit more in this week's episode of Gallagher Premiership Rugby's The Lowdown. It's that time again. Here I am in my house, actually, which is very convenient for me and good for the environment, with a lovely producer and, it has to be said, a rather odd cameraman, all with Gallagher Premiership Rugby for the Lowdown on the best bits of this weekend's action from round 6. And boy oh boy, man oh man, do we have a lot to talk about. First, before we get into the rugby-based nitty-gritty, let's see what some of the lads have been up to. Now, the NFL came from across the pond. They sort of invaded London as Miami took on Jacksonville. I don't know a huge amount about the NFL. I mean, I know a lot, just not a huge amount. But it's good to see the boys getting out there and sort of some beasts sitting in the crowd and watching other beasts sort of clash into each other with an odd-shaped ball in the middle. It's good stuff. Ollie Woodburn, who incidentally, his mum delivered my first daughter, not to the house, but literally in the hospital. And that's the only connection. That's where it begins and ends, really. But he got down there with O'Flaherty, with his mate Maunder. They got stuck in and enjoyed it down there. And Harlequins player Stephen Levis got down there. He took Andre Esterhazy, he took Rob Dupree down there. Now those boys, by the looks of things, had a couple of pints. Now we don't want to glorify that. We assume they're drinking responsibly. I think they were. They're athletes in peak condition, going very, very nicely indeed. So I expect maybe it was, probably a shandy, wasn't it? So who do you think, let us know in the comments, who do you think could or should or might be the next player from the Gallagher Premiership to go and try his luck over in the NFL? Of course, Christian Wade's still over there on the practice squad for the Bills. I keep thinking, I wonder if, Sam Simmons is the obvious one, running back, he'd be hard work, but I reckon you get Nick Asikwe on a big sort of weightlifting, milk and bananas diet and just sort of broccoli and boiled chicken for breakfast. He might do a job as well, a bit of a specimen. Who do you reckon? Right, rugby time, let's get to it. Exeter Chiefs against London Irish at Sandy Park. Started at a decent lick, did Irish. Albert Tuasui's been an important player for Irish for a long time, but this I think was the most effective I've seen him both sides of the ball. And that guy, Agustin Creevy, whether he's still world class, was world class, whatever world class means, he was it, is it, yeah, probably still is it. You can stick him any time, any team in the world, he'd look good. What a player. And he did make a big difference when he went off, actually. He's a difficult player to replace. Of course, we TMO'd it. It's 2021, but he got there. He's got very, very long arms. There's Tuasui having a little dab at the jackal. We'll come back to that. This was really nicely worked through the middle by Exeter Chiefs and Hendrickson. How quick is Stuart Hogg, by the way? How quick is Stuart Hogg? I actually think he's still one of those players who shocks defenders. This was beautifully worked. I love that pullback from Rogerson. Nice feet from Loader and a good finish. But really, it is made by the work at the line by Matt Rogerson, who was superb for London Irish at the weekend. This is the pullback, right to the line. It's difficult, it's a delicate skill. It's a short pass, but it's a delicate skill. And it was a nice finish from Loader, yes it was. Here's Tuasui over the top. Really, really sharp, very, very quickly in there. He's done enough by then, hands up, why not? Hendrickson active, Tuasui all over him again. Just difficult bloke to get out of the way, of course, because he's a big, strong unit. You'd think he'd be quite happy with that, getting lots of praise from his mates. Is that a smile? No, it's not. It's not even approaching a smile, but I promise he's over the moon, absolutely over the moon. Steve Maffey getting in on the act too. Very, very good defence. Really, really good defence from London Irish. And Matt Rogerson here making one of his 23 tackles. 23 tackles made, none missed. That's how you get man of the match. Right, some of the social media comments and that. Tim Symes said this, looks like Chiefs missed Dave Ewers. Last 8 games they've played, Ewers played in 3 of them, they won them. He missed 5, they lost them. Shows how much he's missed. Tim, I'm inclined to agree with you. They're not a one-man team, of course they're not. There's no such thing in rugby, but Exeter Chiefs do seem to rely on him hugely. Most guys of that size can have a big impact in a game, but they're low work rate just because they might have an engine, but they're just too big to do the work of someone 3 or 4 stones lighter. Dave Ewers has the engine of a Tom Curry, but is 125 kilos or 68 stone in old money. So very, very important for Chiefs. I mean, I think you're right on that. Ian Ritchie, not that Ian Ritchie, the other Ian Ritchie said, how good has the Irish defence been? Absolutely solid. # brick wall. Yeah, amazing. Rogerson, 23 from 23. Mega, but really good technical work at the breakdown, good jackling, good speed into the jackal, defensive organisation, brilliant. London Irish blog said this, our defence stifled them all game, can't remember us defending that well before. In attack we moved them around, exploited space when it came, was 100% us winning rather than Exeter being a bit crap. Actually, No, it's not. I mean, I love you, London Irish blog, but I don't agree with that. It's one of those things. Exeter will go away and look at that game and say, well, it's all us being off form and not being on it. You have got to give some credit to London Irish. Equally, Exeter did have an off day. A lot of that will have been to do with the pressure that London Irish put on them. Some of it will be due to teams sometimes having off days. So, actually both happening, both are contributing factors. Combination of the two, that's how London Irish win. Greatly deserved, but I think we have to acknowledge that Exeter weren't at their best. Right, we're off to Northampton, Franklin's Gardens, where the Saints of Northampton took on the Warriors of Worcester. I just love how flat Dan Biggar takes this pass. He makes it look so easy to get it into that wide channel, whereas so many seem to make it look so complicated. Tommy Freeman, when your luck's in, gives it the full Scholesy to his mate Skosan, who had a decent little debut. Hat-trick, that's 1 of 3. Why not? This try, really, defence isn't great, is it, from Worcester? You've got to get to that touchline and force him back inside. Easier said than done. Easier said than done, mind, but a lovely team to make your debut against, without any disrespect to Worcester, but that is what they are at the moment. And he certainly enjoyed himself.
Biggar holds it back a little bit. Again,
there's absolutely no defending this, really, not when you're that narrow. Worcester kind of had the numbers. They weren't outnumbered hugely, but they were just all over the place, organisationally, all over the place physically. And here, Fraser Dingwall, he's under a bit of pressure when he catches that ball. You'd think a few hands on him, but geez, he shouldn't be scoring from there. Northampton should not be scoring from there. He could have gone himself. Cressick might have got him, but Freeman was there. And he's the golden boy, isn't he? So who else is going to score that? Life just gets better and better, but really, really shoddy defence from Northampton Saints. Lamani, when he came on, made a big difference, didn't he? He was great. Alex Mitchell was fantastic, but speed of ball for Lamani. And guess who? Of course it is. Of course it's him. Is he going to start for England? Don't know. I reckon he probably won't, but he's great to watch nonetheless. Right, the socials. Bob DePledge said, some might say that one-sided games are easy to referee, but credit where it's due. Ian Tempest allowed the game to flow and had a good game. I'd agree with that. He usually does. Hugh Tyndall said he'd like to see Lamani running more from 9 against a tired Worcester Warriors defence. He thought he could have carved up more. Still, it's early days for the Fijian at Saints. Yeah, it is early days. He is a lovely runner. We will see more of that. His service was great, loads of quick ball because Worcester just weren't defending by then effectively, and not effectively at all. They were trying their best, it just wasn't happening. So when you've got that much talent, that much speed out wide, you might as well feed it because those boys were carving up. Lewis Ludlam said 50 for Biggs, 50 Premiership games for Alex Mitchell, who was superb, by the way. Frank Anderson's family and Lightning Rugby in the building. Skosan hat-trick on debut, decent. And a packed out Franklin's Gardens. Good night all round, I reckon. And a good night from him. He's a wonderful player. One of those players that seems to have slipped out of the England conversation a little bit. And I don't think he should slip out of it. I think the bloke's a dog of war. Love to have played with a guy like that. Right, nice little moment at the end where Dan Biggar went over to Finn Smith. Of course, Dan Biggar's team have won handsomely. Just a little, not necessarily an arm around the shoulder, just a little chat and say, look, mate, we've all been there. It's a nice moment. It's lovely stuff. And I don't know Dan Biggar very well, but everyone I know, what knows him, said he's a wonderful bloke. And the fact that he's not on social media at all means that he's not doing that for the cameras. He's doing it because he's a lovely bloke and he's been there himself. It's really nice. One little point that always irks me a little bit is that when stuff like that happens, it's nice to point it out, and people love saying that's what makes rugby so unique. That's rugby's values. Climb off the high horse for a minute. Rugby ain't perfect. There's loads of people doing rubbish stuff in rugby, just like there is everywhere else, but there's loads of brilliant, beautiful stuff. Let's celebrate that, but let's not pretend we're any better than anyone else. We're just a load of blokes and women having a go at being good people. That's a lovely example of it. Really enjoyed it, okay? Right, up to Welford Road, where Leicester Tigers took on the Sale Sharks. Basically, two big, aggressive, beefy mobs coming together in a bit of an arm wrestle. And it wasn't all about defence at the weekend at Welford Road, but it was a lot to do with defence, and Leicester just did defending a little bit better at the weekend. They were properly on one. The scrum was fantastic. Dan Cole reborn. The offload from Visa a worldie. Why not? Love this little bit of interplay between Ben Youngs and Hanro Liebenberg. It's beautiful. Liebenberg, a wonderful athlete, great player, but does hurt his shoulder as he scores this. Look, so let's hope that's not too serious. He's a top player. Nice little crossfield kick, well gathered, nice little offload, kablam. Absolute beauty of a tackle from Mani Tuolangi. He is in the building. Didn't have his best game, but that was a lovely, lovely shot. Matt Scott initially would have been thrilled that offload came his way. Very shortly afterwards, wishing it never happened at all. Knocked him into next week. And as long as it's legal and no one gets hurt, which it was, and they didn't, we all love a bit of that. It's beautiful stuff. And Nemani Nandolo, again, hugely influential. Very quickly becoming one of the most influential and valuable players in the Gallagher Premiership for my money, for my 20 quid. And here he is again in exactly the right place, reads the game so well. Lovely skills. It helps when you've got hands like dinner plates because you can chuck a rugby ball like a cricket ball. Just a wonderful contributor. And here it's tough, young fella and all that, but really he's got to hit the deck. Getting carried over his own try line there. Got to do a bit better. And on Twitter, Nemani Nandolo himself said that was a physical match. Huge respect for the Sale Sharks. Welford Road was buzzing. Super proud of my teammates. Yeah, it was physical. It was, I think they call it an arm wrestle, but it was more like a sort of boxing match without the punching. Does that make any sense? No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Just lots of very big, aggressive collisions. Matt Sansby said, thought it was a great showing from Warren Wilkinson at half-back, but the lack of a consistent 15 is making it hard to build consistency, build for next week. Yeah, you're right. At Sale is difficult. You get certain guys injured. It's all very well blooding youngsters and staying positive about all of that, but it just does make it really difficult when you can't pick your top players, or at least the same players every week. It's unavoidable. Right, up to the Stoop where Harlequins played Bath. I was there, enjoyed my day, nice day out, except that Ollie Combe, one of their former players up at Quins, used to have like a burger, hot dog, sort of pork bap stall, which I expected, to feed from, and it wasn't there for some reason. So that ruined the weekend actually. Now I thought this from Joe Marler. It looks awful because you got one high, one low, and I was listening to the TMO on the old headphones and I was commentating, and there was lots of talk straight away of reds and yellows and all that stuff. I think that is not a penalty, not a yellow, not a red, not a penalty. I love Luke Pearce, my favourite ref. I think Joe Marler was low, his arms were up. It's just bad luck. I don't think it should have even been a penalty. This was really eerily easily scored, I thought. Bath didn't do a lot with that. It was a good maul, really well executed, but they took it in field a bit, but they just kind of walked over. And have a look here at Will Stewart, big number 3 for Bath. I know Quins didn't major in defence last season, and we said they won't win if they don't defend properly, and they did. But that is a pretty easily scored try, it has to be said. So Quins were nowhere near their best, that's for sure. Danny Kerr was still sniping. He said after the game to me he thought they were rubbish. I didn't think they were rubbish by any means. He was sparky, he was causing problems. Here he goes. Big theatrical dive here. I don't think it was a dive actually. I think no one changed their line, nothing illegal. But he was causing problems, put it that way. Lovely deft little touch from Andre Esterhazen. He's not just big, a bit like Nandolo. Actually a brilliant player. Excellent defence in positioning and pace from Danny Cipriani to save the day in the short term anyway. How does Don Brandt get that away? Don't know. Watched it 10 times. Still don't know. Sort of Full Metal Jacket, NBA stuff. Really good to watch. Some player. And now just watch Marcus Smith. The little goose step. It's not for decoration. It stitches up defenders. Mike Williams doesn't know where to go. Marchant walks in. Bath much improved. Quins nowhere near their best. On Twitter, Angus Rowland said, whoever's behind the microphone for Harlequins against Bath, I think it's David Flatman, apologies if I'm wrong, has had a worldie. He's elite. It wasn't me, it was actually Vin Diesel. It wasn't me as a lookalike. Oliver Smitty has said this, Marcus Smith doing Marcus Smith things to bring Quins back into it against Bath. Absolute baller. Yeah, Mr. Smitty. Quins were absolutely nowhere near their best, yet they still score loads of tries. They still win by quite a margin. Marcus Smith nowhere near his best. Still that goose step. The try he scored around the outside of Max Clark. He's special. It's not hype. He is special. Right, Gloucester, Newcastle, King's Home. Here we go. If you didn't see the game, it's worth watching just to watch Mark Atkinson being brilliant and Callum Chick being brilliant. Chick is a big part of the England conversation. I think he might play more of a part than some people expect this autumn, maybe into the Six Nations. He's some player. He's big. He loves a bit of work. He's got a lot of power, but he picks good lines. He's clever. He had a real impact on this game. I know Gloucester won it. I know that. Seen the score. Callum Chick was superb. Johnny May was hungry, got a good bit of ball down the left. They say it's to do with his tights, make him braver at hitting the floor, make him faster, make him more aerodynamic, something. But he looked hungry. He was smiling during the game. Looked like he was really enjoying himself, and he got a good bit of ball. Gloucester worked him into a good bit of space, and he ended up having a good impact on the game. He's been a bit quiet lately, the start of the season. Johnny May. Now, if you're Nick Easter, look away now, Newcastle Falcons defence coach. That's so easy. Nice to see Johnny May get over and super happy, lovely stuff. But, of course, retained by Eddie Jones. But, geez, it shouldn't be that easy. And Kelametti, that's scrum half. And that is a lot of power. That is hard to deal with, especially when he comes off the bench if you're a bit tired. Absolutely the last thing you want to see. He's just starting to work a bit of magic up at Newcastle Falcons. And if you're going to hit, you've got to hit and stick. And ideally, 2 or 3 of you at the same time if you're going to stop him. Good win for Gloss. Punchy socials after this game, really punchy. Primarily from Carl Ferns, which as a neutral, I quite enjoy. I'll level with you. Loving the chat from all the standard Gloucester fans, he said on Twitter. 1 win and you all think you're world beaters. Enjoy the inevitable 9th place. Ooh. Joanna Mills says, why do we just kick the ball away all the time? We have such an amazing backline to use. Now, Joanna, we don't know who you support. We expect it's Newcastle because the tweet is kind of, it's a negative one and it's a complaining one. Interesting question. I mean, you do have to kick the ball a bit, but yeah, if all you ever do is give the ball to your backs, it becomes easily predictable. So you do have to mix it up a little bit, but maybe the balance wasn't quite right this weekend. So perhaps you make a good point. Right, up to the StoneX Arena where Saracens, who were in reasonably good form going to this game, played against Wasps, who were looking to stop them, but also had a load of injuries and rested a load of lads too. It's a long old season, but it could have been a long old afternoon, couldn't it? This was lovely from Sarries. I mean, they got the advantage for the Hogard knock-on, so you might as well have a go and fling it because you've got nothing to lose, really. You're going to get the foot into the scrum anyway. But then Nick Tompkins has an idea. He has been outstanding these first few rounds of the season. He's such a handful, so powerful. In the end, Wasps scramble. The ball bobbles around a bit. Owen Farrell is alive to it. And really from here on in, well, Christie gets the ball away nicely. Really from here on in, it's just draw and pass. And Marrow, the Pearl, ain't messing that up. And Malins goes in for his first of 4 tries in his tights. It's got nothing to do with his tights, but we like to say it has. Christie, that's a nice pullback that. He had a really good game, really impressed with him. And Jamie George feeding Malins again, but Jamie George, in commentary, Alistair Eakins said that you struggle to find a better hooker in the Northern Hemisphere. There isn't one. There isn't a better hooker than him in the Northern Hemisphere. He's wonderful. This is a really poor kick, followed by an excellent line from Owen Farrell. Absolutely excellent. And from the end on camera, it's even better. That's lovely for Max Malins. It looks nice. It's a lovely running, nice moment for him and the team. But really, that's the line. Defence nowhere, massive gaps everywhere. Brutal. In a result that, even though Wasps still had some good old boys out there, Gopeth included, felt a little bit inevitable. So anything Johnny May could do, Max Malins could do better. Scored 4 in his tights, why not? There are certain positions that can't wear leggings, like your second row, back row getting lifted in line-outs. They can't wear them because you can't get any grip on them, but I think we'll see loads of lads wearing them now. It's not such a big deal anyway. I don't know if anyone goes on about wearing leggings or wearing tights. I'm wearing them now. They're all I wear around the house. Just really, really comfy. Anyway, social media. Will Keller said this, of course, Daily Mail journalist, good man, said Wasps have 15 players injured, 1 banned and 7 rested, and have now taken 4 of their starting 15 off before half time. Grim. Yeah, was grim. Actually, could have been worse. I mean, do you remember? Sarri scored 71 points last week against Bath's first team, so it could have been worse. Kieran Bracken, I think you probably remember Kieran Bracken, former heartthrob. Former heartthrob. He was a heartthrob a couple of decades ago. Former heartthrob, Kieran Bracken. Love seeing Billy Vunipola whip out passes as a 9. He's having a stormer for Saracens. Eddie, are you watching? Yeah, Billy is in major form. Tough to get in the England team at number 8 at the moment, mind, but he is having stormer after stormer. Right into the YouTube comments. Last week I asked you about players wearing tights and leggings and who might be first. Heidi Landover said Joe Marler in fishnets. Not yet. Nick Rowe called Johnny May as the first player. Simon Haig called Johnny May as the first player. You were bang Ian right. Well done. Jones the Steam said he reckons it'd be a winger first wearing tights, as I said. Stand around for 79.5 minutes, score in the end, take all the glory and watch the checks from Spanks roll in. Happy days. I'm not sure Spanks make leggings or tights, Jones the Steam. I'm not sure. Maybe they do. I know they wear the sort of knickers, the big pants that supposedly make you look slimmer. I call that false advertising, although I am wearing them now. I'm wearing them under my leggings. I wear them sort of all the way up. They're just above nipple level now, which is hopefully why I'm looking sort of, not go on about it, but pretty tight. KO7 asks, why is it always Dombrandt v Sivens for a start at 8 for England? Why not put them at 6 and 8 as a combo and watch them tear it up? No, don't agree with that. They're specialist 8s. That's all we ever see them play. Leave them there. Stick one of them at 6. Where does Tom Curry go? 7, sure, maybe, but Sam Underhill I think should be in the team somewhere. England's best man stopper. Then where does Courtney Laws go? You stick him in the second row. Marrow's in there. Then where does Johnny Hill go? Do you see what I mean? If you've got specialists, leave them there. That's what I say. Eddie might disagree. That's another week done and dusted. Do remember to get over to the Premiership Rugby website. They get all the highlights over there, all the full match replays. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and hit the little reminder notification bell so when something drops, you're told about it. See you next week. Ta-ra.